that can be scaled across humanity is values. Let's be fair to each other. Let's be friendly. Let's be optimistic. Let's be respectful to ourselves, respectful to other people. Let's be accountable.
In a shocking encounter, while walking through a bustling metro station, Matthew McConaughey spots a 4-year-old girl alone. And what he does next moves everyone to tears. But wait. This isn't just a story. It's a reminder that even celebrities have the basic essence of humanity. Kindness? So what led McConaughey to that metro station? And how did a chance encounter forever change his life and that of an innocent child? Join us as we tell you what might easily be the most moving story you've heard in a long while. A unique encounter. In a shocking twist of fate, a 4-year-old girl found herself face to face with none other than the iconic actor Matthew McConaughey, kneeling in front of her. Trembling and short of words, neither knew that their lives were about to change forever. But the real question is, how did they get here? The answer to that question might make you think deeply about everything we understand about humanity. It all began on a day that felt strangely different from the usual. Matthew McConaughey found himself walking through a busy metro station. For most people, this might be ordinary, but for Matthew, it was far from his usual reality. Typically, his world revolved around the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, a life filled with flashing cameras, film sets, and red carpet events. He was the beloved star, a household name, always living in the spotlight. Yet here he was, amid the city's everyday hustle and bustle, surrounded by people who didn't recognize him or were too busy with their own lives to notice. Today was unlike any other day in his schedule. Usually, Matthew's life moved at a lightning-fast pace. There were film roles to prepare for, interviews to attend, and fans to meet. He was always on the go, keeping up with the demands of celebrity life. But today, he made a choice to step away from it all. He wanted to experience something different, and that was to slow down and blend in with the crowds, just like any ordinary person. As he wandered through the metro station, he found himself in a world far removed from his Hollywood life. The surroundings were simple and raw, a stark contrast to the luxury he was used to. He wanted a break from being Matthew McConaughey, the movie star. He longed for a moment of normalcy, a chance to be around people who saw him as just another face in the crowd. As he strolled along, taking in the sights and sounds of the metro, Matthew began to reflect deeply on his journey. There were no cameras or fame, just people, each moving to the rhythm of their lives. The metro was alive with energy, the clatter of footsteps on the tiled floor, the hum of conversations, the shrill whistle of an approaching train. People were everywhere, each lost in their own world, with some tapping on their phones, others chatting with friends, while a few simply watched as life unfolded around them. For Matthew, it was humbling. It reminded him of something he hadn't felt in a while, something real and grounded. He reflected on his journey, his success, and the life he'd built. But today, none of that mattered. What he felt in that moment was a longing to reconnect with the essence of life, to experience the small, meaningful moments that can often be overlooked. As he stood there watching the world go by, something unusual caught his eye. Amidst the constant flow of people, a small figure stood out. A little girl, barely 4 years old, standing near a bench. She was different, her presence contrasting sharply with the hectic scene around her. Dressed in a green dress and clutching a small teddy bear, she looked lost, her face filled with a quiet, fearful expression. She was out of place in this bustling environment, her innocent, fragile figure seeming even smaller among the crowd of rushing adults. In that instant, Matthew felt something shift within him. She wasn't like the other people moving through the station, lost in their routines and absorbed in their thoughts. No, she stood still, her wide eyes darting around as though searching for something or someone to save her from this frightening, unfamiliar world. As he continued to watch, he noticed something heartbreaking. Young children usually carry an aura of curiosity, laughter, and joy, but this little girl had none. Her expression was void of the usual wonder that children so naturally display. Instead, it was filled with fear and confusion. Something was clearly wrong, and Matthew felt a surge of concern rise within him. Without fully understanding why, he found himself drawn to her, unable to look away. What troubled him even more was that no one else seemed to notice her. People kept moving, too focused on their own lives to stop and see her. She was just another face in the crowd, an invisible figure that went unnoticed. It was as if she were a part of the background, lost in a world where everyone else had somewhere to be, something to do. But for Matthew, she stood out like a beacon, her small, frightened form pulling at his heart in a way he hadn't anticipated. At that moment, a bitter truth dawned on him. Sometimes, the most important things in life are the ones we overlook. There was a little girl, alone and afraid, and yet she had gone unnoticed by everyone around her. Matthew felt a deep sense of responsibility well up inside him, a need to protect this child who, in her own innocent way, had reminded him of the very essence of humanity, which are kindness, empathy, and connection. He knew he had to do something, to step in and help. The little girl's world seemed crumbling, and he couldn't stand by and do nothing. Who was this mysterious child who had somehow crossed his path on this particular day? And could he bring peace to her shattered, frightened world? Matthew was about to find out. The child's dilemma. As Matthew stood there studying the little girl holding her teddy bear so tightly, he knew he had to act. But this wasn't something he was accustomed to. He wasn't on a movie set where everything was scripted, where he could just deliver his lines and move on. This was real life, unscripted and raw, and there was no practice run or second take. If he was going to help this little girl, he had to reach her in a way that felt safe and natural to her. That meant coming down to her level, literally and emotionally, so she'd feel less afraid. Matthew understood that children are often cautious around strangers, especially when scared, so he didn't want to approach her too quickly. Instead, he moved slowly, ensuring his body language was gentle and non-threatening. He knelt down a few feet away, keeping his distance, but close enough to let her know he could help if she wanted. He softened his expression, offering a warm and reassuring smile, hoping that might ease her fears. At first, the little girl looked at him with wide, frightened eyes, unsure who this stranger was. She clutched her teddy bear even tighter, as if the soft toy could protect her from all the unfamiliar faces and noises around them. Her initial reaction was hesitant, as she instinctively stepped back, overwhelmed by the situation and the crowd around her. But Matthew stayed calm, waiting for her to feel more at ease. As he observed her, he noticed her small, trembling hands gripping the teddy bear, her eyes darting around, desperate for familiarity. He didn't need to say anything to understand how lost and scared she was. The little girl's expression began to soften, as if she sensed something kind and trustworthy about him. Then, finally, her tiny shoulders relaxed just a little. She seemed to decide he might not be so scary after all, and that's when he knew he had gained some of her trust. Patiently, he gestured for her to come to him, hoping she'd feel brave enough to tell him what was wrong. He wanted to ask her name, understand where her mother was, and piece together her story, but instead he waited, letting her take her time. Eventually, the little girl looked down at her teddy, almost as if she was seeking the courage to open up. In a small, shaky voice, she slowly shared that she was looking for her mother. Her name, she revealed after some hesitation, was Talia. Hearing her name made her feel a little more connected, a bit less alone in the vast and overwhelming space of the metro. Matthew felt a tug at his heart, realizing how young and vulnerable she was. This wasn't just a lost child. She was someone's entire world, a small person whose entire safety had been shattered. He knew he had to do everything he could to help her find her mom. Her fear was palpable, her anxiety almost contagious as she pointed down a hallway, indicating the last direction she'd seen her mother heading. Matthew nodded in understanding, gently patting her small shoulder as a comforting gesture. He hoped it would bring her some reassurance. He assured her, in his own quiet way, that they would find her mother together. As they moved down the hallway, her small hand clinging to his, he stayed hyper-alert, scanning the faces around them for anyone who looked equally desperate. A mother frantically searching for her child. After what felt like an eternity of searching, his eyes landed on a woman not too far down the hall near a bench. Her face was a picture of anguish and panic, her eyes darting wildly over the crowd. She was clearly distressed, anxiously searching each face she passed by. There was no mistaking the raw emotion in her expression. It was the look of a mother who had lost something more precious than anything in the world. Matthew's heart swelled with relief, and he guided Talia gently toward the woman. The mother's eyes landed on Talia, and her face transformed instantly, the anxiety replaced by a very overwhelming relief. She was scooping her daughter into her arms in a split second, holding her tightly as if she'd never let go. The little girl clung to her mother, her tiny body shaking with both the relief of being found and the residual fear of being lost. Matthew watched the reunion unfold, standing back slightly to give them their moment. He couldn't help but feel moved by the sheer intensity of the scene before him. No words were needed to understand the depth of love and relief between mother and daughter. It was a beautiful moment, one that made every effort worth it. The mother, visibly emotional, looked up at Matthew, her eyes expressing gratitude that no words could capture. At that moment, he felt so much more fulfillment than what he imagined. He hadn't needed recognition or applause. Seeing the relief on Talia's face, knowing she was safe with her mom, was all he needed. It wasn't just the little girl who had been touched by the experience. He too had been affected, his heart warmed by the simple act of kindness he'd been able to offer. Walking away, leaving the reunited family to savor their moment, Matthew felt something deeply rewarding settle within him. This wasn't the kind of accomplishment measured in fame or fortune. Instead, it was something more personal, a kind of contentment that comes from connecting with people on a human level. He had stepped out that day hoping to experience something normal. As he exited the metro, his heart felt lighter, and he couldn't help but carry a smile that seemed to grow with every step. This was one experience he wouldn't soon forget. It was a memory he'd carry, a small but powerful reminder of what mattered in life. While this wasn't the only time Matthew McConaughey had offered a hand to someone in need, it was one of the moments that had left a mark on his heart, reminding him that true kindness often happens when no one's watching. For Matthew, that day wasn't just about finding Talia's mom or helping a lost child. It was a quiet moment of connection, a chance to touch someone's life meaningfully. And though he'd return to his usual world of glitz and glamour soon enough, this experience reminded him that the most important role he could ever play was simply being a good human being. But this wasn't only good deed to Matthew's name. An actor with a kind heart. When people think of Matthew David McConaughey, a few things probably come to mind, and they are none other than his southern charm, that iconic Texan drawl, or perhaps the roles that made him famous. But there's another side to McConaughey that isn't as often highlighted, one that reveals who he truly is beyond the lights of Hollywood. It's his generous heart, kindness, and ability to connect with people from all walks of life. Whether on set, in his community, or out in the world, McConaughey's compassion is a defining part of his character, inspiring countless fans and friends. Let's go back to the beginning to truly understand what drives his kindness. Matthew McConaughey was born in Uvalde, Texas on November 4, 1969. Raised as the youngest 3 boys in a hard-working family, he grew up surrounded by values like respect, humility, and loyalty. His parents, Mary and James McConaughey, were strong personalities who instilled a sense of grit and integrity in their children. His father, a former NFL player who became a successful oil businessman, taught him the importance of perseverance. In contrast, his former teacher's mother encouraged his curiosity and love for people. While growing up, McConaughey didn't initially have his sights set on Hollywood. He was more focused on sports and even considered a career in law. But when he discovered his passion for acting in college, everything changed. After his breakout role in Dazed and Confused, his career took off, and he became a star almost overnight. Years of romantic comedies followed, where he was often cast as the charming lead. But even as he moved through Hollywood with all its lavishness, McConaughey kept his feet firmly on the ground. In time, McConaughey moved beyond romantic comedies and began taking on more complex roles that showcased his depth as an actor. With performances in films like A Time to Kill, Interstellar, and Dallas Buyers Club. His work in Dallas Buyers Club earned him an Academy Award for Best Actor. But while many actors would let such fame go to their heads, McConaughey remained humble and connected to the world around him. He saw his success not just as an achievement, but as an opportunity to make a difference in the lives of others. One of the ways he does this is through the Just Keep Livin' Foundation, which he founded in 2008. This nonprofit organization is close to McConaughey's heart, as it embodies values instilled in him from a young age. The foundation empowers high school students by encouraging them to lead active lives, make healthy choices, and stay positive even in tough times. These lessons are more than just words to McConaughey, they're a way of life. He's often spoken about how hard work, kindness, and resilience have shaped his journey. He hopes to pass those values on to the next generation through his foundation. The impact of the Just Keep Livin' Foundation has been profound. Thousands of students nationwide have benefited from the Foundation's programs, which focus on fitness, mental well-being, and life skills. McConaughey has taken a hands-on approach, visiting schools, meeting students, and listening to their stories. He knows that having someone believe in them for many young people can make all the difference. For McConaughey, seeing these kids gain confidence, make healthier choices, and build brighter futures is worth more than any Hollywood accolade. It's a legacy of kindness and positive influence that he's leaving in communities far and wide. But McConaughey's kindness isn't limited to his foundation. He brings it with him everywhere, even to his film sets. Known for treating everyone, from fellow actors to the crew members, with the same respect, he's often praised for creating a warm, collaborative atmosphere on set. Many of his co-stars have shared stories about his generosity and sense of humor, which help make long days feel lighter. One time, during the filming of True Detective, McConaughey noticed that some of the crew seemed tired and worn out after several long days of shooting. He decided to do something about it and organized a barbecue for the cast and crew, bringing everyone together for a night of food, music, and laughter. For McConaughey, it wasn't just about lifting spirits, but about reminding everyone they were part of a team and valued. Beyond the set, McConaughey is known for his thoughtful gestures toward fans. Unlike many celebrities, he doesn't rush past or treat them as inconvenient. Instead, he takes the time to connect with his audience, making each interaction feel genuine and memorable. Whether signing autographs, posing for pictures, or simply sharing a few words of encouragement, McConaughey makes people feel seen and appreciated. He knows these small gestures can leave a lasting impact, and he treats every fan with the kindness they deserve. One of McConaughey's most notable moments of generosity occurred in 2021 during the Texas winter storm that left thousands without power, food, and water. Alongside his wife, Camila Alves, he organized a virtual benefit to raise funds for relief efforts, helping to provide food, water, and shelter to those affected. The couple personally reached out to donors, organized resources, and worked tirelessly to support their fellow Texans.
This wasn't just a one-time gesture. McConaughey has a long history of stepping up in times of crisis, using his resources and influence to make a real difference. For him, it's not about publicity, but doing the right thing. Another act of kindness that shows McConaughey's generosity is his willingness to mentor young actors. In Hollywood, where competition is fierce, he's always supported newcomers, offering advice, encouragement, and sometimes even career guidance. He believes in lifting others up rather than competing with them. Many actors who have worked with McConaughey describe him as a mentor and friend, who's always ready to listen and lend a helping hand. For McConaughey, success means little if it's not shared, and he's been instrumental in helping others find their footing in the industry. This genuine kindness extends into his personal life as well. McConaughey is known for being a loving father and husband. His family means the world to him, and he's often seen spending quality time with his 3 children and wife, Camila. He's spoken openly about how being a father has taught him the importance of patience, compassion, and selflessness. Through his actions, he's setting an example for his kids and anyone who looks up to him. The story of McConaughey helping little Talia in the metro is just one example of his instinct to help others, especially when they're vulnerable or in need. When he noticed the young girl standing alone, he didn't hesitate. He approached her carefully, aware of how intimidating the situation could be for a child. At that moment, he wasn't a celebrity. He was just a kind stranger who wanted to ensure she was safe. McConaughey's gentle approach and warm reassurance helped Talia feel comfortable, and he took it upon himself to find her mother, ultimately reuniting them in a beautiful moment that left a lasting impression. For many people, this story clearly showed why McConaughey is so beloved. It wasn't a grand, publicized act of charity, but a quiet, genuine moment of empathy that spoke volumes about his character. He didn't do it for recognition or applause simply because it was right. His encounter with Talia is a reminder that even the smallest acts of kindness can make a deep impact. Throughout his life, McConaughey has shown that kindness isn't a one-time choice, but a lifestyle. His actions, whether through his foundation, his generosity on set, or his support for those in need, have inspired countless people to follow his example. Fans and colleagues see him as a talented actor who genuinely cares about others and strives to make a difference. He's not just a celebrity, he's a role model, a mentor, and a reminder of the good that exists in the world. For McConaughey, kindness is a legacy worth building. He understands that fame and fortune are fleeting. Still, his positive impact on others will last long after the applause has faded. Through his countless acts of generosity, charitable work, and willingness to help anyone in need, McConaughey stands as a beacon of compassion and integrity. He's shown that being and doing good are accomplishments beyond awards or box office numbers. In a world that can sometimes feel disconnected and self-centered, McConaughey's kindness, whether big or small, has touched the lives of so many, inspiring them to pay it forward in their own way. What do you think about Matthew McConaughey's encounter with Talia? Let us know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Also, click the following video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.